Jody Berman's office at Glazer campus. We got the light shining down. Oh, it's like perfect.
I said hi.
Yes, I see you, Donna. Thank you very much for saying hi. This is it's a fabulous Torah portion. I say that every week, though, don't I? Fabulous Torah portion this week. Parshat Noach. We got the story of Noah. Woo! Story of Noah this week. There's a lot of cuckoo things that I came across and just thinking about this Torah portion and reading it that we're going to jump into today. But before we begin, why don't we start with a little blessing? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah, that we should get busy with Torah, soak ourselves in Torah, but not too much soaking, right? Like we don't want the rains and the floods that happened to Noah to happen to us. Why, you even changed your name, Benny G, while he eats the salad. It feels like little Kenny G for you, but it's all right. Okay, everybody. I know Lisa's like, oh, this guy again. I know. You're muted, Lisa. You're muted. All right, here we go. I've prepared for us a few things.
Oh.
There we go. I'm going to get our text up. Here we go.
There we go. Am I muted now?
Nope.
Okay, sorry. I was taking medicine, not giving you a look.
No, you do that. You take your medicine. Good.
Okay.
I'll take this.
All right, I'll mute now. There we go.
And we've got, here we are at the Parshat. We have Parshat Noach. I'm going to open up everybody so I can see everybody. That's good. A little bit more. Make sure I got everyone on my screen. All right, here we are. Look at this. All right.
Wow.
So we have the Parsha here, but first, who could kind of, let me stop the share for right now. Who can give us a little rundown? What happened in the Noah story? Just the beginning part. What happened in the Noah story?
Rabbi, may I say?
You may say. What happened just in the beginning?
I just believe that the Lord looked upon the earth that he had made, and he was sad at all of sin and decided to destroy the earth. But Noah grappled with God and said, please don't. And he said, in mankind, we had never seen rain before. So he told Noah to build an ark. And,
all right, good, fabulous. All right, so we got this idea, which is interesting, Donna, that you even said that Noah pleaded with God, because you know what? That's one of the things they would talk about. No one never said a word. But I'm going to share something with you interesting that I found earlier today. But let's back up. Okay, so we got this where God sees what's going on. I was like, man, maybe I messed up. I don't know what's with these people. I gave them too much free will. They're just evil. Every inclination is evil, and I want to get rid of them. And it reminds me of a joke. So, it's around this time. It's right before God decides that I'm just going to get rid of everybody and start again. And he sends an angel down to check out what's going on, right? Check out what's going on. An angel goes down and comes back and tells God, yeah, all right, look, you're right, but maybe we need to give these people a second chance. I'm not sure. I don't think we necessarily need to get rid of everybody. I'm not sure. Okay, so God's decided, you know what? I'm going to send another angel down just to check it all out. So God goes down, or the angel goes down, checks it out, and it's like, all right, you know what? Yes, it's messed up down there, but there are still a few good people. a few worthy people that we could save. There's a few worthy people that we should save. And God said, all right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send an email to all the worthy people. Right? I'm going to send an email to all the worthy people to let them know what the plan is. And then we'll go from there. I'm going to send an email to all the worthy people. And you know what that email said? Benny G,
Help us out, Rabbi.
You know what that email said, Benny G?
No idea.
Benny G, you know what that email said? Oh, you didn't get the email, huh? You didn't get the email, huh? Oh.
Yes, we weren't on the worthy list.
Sorry. Feel free to use that joke. That's a good one. I like that one. Feel free.
Okay.
All right, but let's jump. Douglas is not impressed. Okay, here we go. We're gonna jump in. I'm gonna share my screen and we're gonna just jump right in. But here's what we're gonna do, which is interesting. We're gonna start a couple of lines before the actual Parshat begins, before Parshat Noach begins, because Noah is mentioned just at the end of Breshit. Brad, what's for lunch? What do we got? Sandwiches? I love sandwiches. Here we go. I'm going to share my screen here. All right. Here we go. Check this out. These first few lines, Genesis 6:3, and then into Genesis 7 and 8. This is the end of Bereshit. I'll read. Here we go. And the Lord said, my breath shall not abide in man forever. I found this interesting. My breath shall not abide in man forever, since he too is flesh. Let the days allowed him be 120 years. Let the days allowed him be 120 years. Now, why did I share this? I found this fascinating. Do we know who lived to 120? All up in these rest of this portion, up until this guy is like, there's going to be some crazy times. There's like Noah lived 600 years. This guy lived 7. But who lived to 120? It's Abraham. A famous thing. Phyllis and Warren.
Yeah, Moses,
yes, Moses lived to 120. And they said Moses is our greatest of all prophets. And even in Israel today, like when you wish somebody a happy birthday, you say ad 120, may you live to 120, like Moses. But that is like the most that a human could be, the best human being that we have. The example, Moses, super flawed, but here we look at him as this example. And here we have the first mention reference to why 120. That this was what God decided that human beings should live. I just thought that fascinating. So I wanted to share that with you. All right, here we go. Before, again, we move into Noach, the end of Breshit. The Lord said, I will blot out from the earth the men whom I created, men together with beasts, creeping things, and birds of the sky, for I regret that I made them. But Noah found favor with the Lord. Okay, here's my question. And you know what? It came from one of my bat mitzvah students who was writing her Dvar Torah about this, that comes out that she's having her bat mitzvah this week. And you know what? I didn't have a good answer for her. Here's what she asked. She says, okay, I will blot from the earth the men whom I created, men together with beasts, creeping things, birds of the sky, for I regret that I made them. Did God regret making the beasts, the creeping things, the birds of the sky, and so basically the animals? If it's really this humans that are causing all this trouble, right, have really gone astray and just evil, wicked, but the animals are blameless. So she asked, well, why get rid of the animals too? Why do that? I mean, it's the humans that are causing the problems. It's the humans that, right? Why get rid of the animals as well? Plina, what should I tell my bat mitzvah student?
Okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. I think it goes back to Adam and Eve because of the snake. And I think the whole society at that time, even though it was two people, it made 100% of the community. And the 50% that was Eve made it so Adam, the other 50%, would be also sinner or did not listen to God and ate from the snake. So you got the snake that started the whole thing, and that was an animal that you couldn't even guess what it's going to do the next thing. That's why you call it Nachash. You have to guess how it will behave. You cannot trust him. And then you have Adam and Eve that actually was 50% each of the whole community. And if one made the other sin, and it was possible, and so both of them, so the whole community was.
But you're telling me that because of this snake, Fido, the dog over here, has to. I don't even know snake. I didn't even know that was going on. Why am I doing that? All right, I'm gonna go. Brad, are you exercising or raising your hand?
I am raising my hand.
Okay, I'm gonna go Brad, then I'm gonna go Lisa, and then I'm gonna go Donna. Brad, Lisa, Donna.
I think this whole story is a story about fallibility, and it's the fallibility of what God has created, us as humans and the rest of it. Fallibility in the sense that our lives are limited. We are not perfect beings. And it's the fallibility of God, who, after destroying what he's created, says he'll never do this again, that he's made a mistake. So it's a story of fallibility. And as Jews, that's a very difficult concept for us to accept, a fallible God. It's easier for us to accept fallible human beings, but I think that's what the message is in this story.
But what about the animals? What did they do? Okay, well, I got you with this, but what did they do?
They just like in the passage that you just said about humans have a limited life.
Yeah.
Animals have limited lives as well. In other words, God's creation was not perfect. It was fallible.
But that still doesn't get to the question about the animals. Yes, so they're going to die anyway, so I might as well just get rid of them and start again.
It was not a perfect creation.
Okay, all right.
He did say to take two of each to continue.
Yeah, okay. So that's the thing. So it was like, it didn't God didn't get rid of everything and then start fresh, poof, like new mud to make humans do the creation. No, they're like, we're going to take a few of everything and then we're going to start again with them and we're going to see what happens. So God still is like, all right. I mean, the basis for what I created is still pretty good, but the mess up is theirs, not mine. What I created is fabulous. I shouldn't have given them all this free will to mess around and stuff. All right, Lisa.
Yeah, hi. I was just going to say, why is everybody assuming that the animals are perfect?
Oh, good point.
It's an assumption. I mean, I was thinking about, when you see like in those nature videos, you see how a bear has a natural instinct to be a mother, and all these animals have these natural motherly instincts. They go to their baby. But animals also, to survive, they have to kill each other. They have to eat each other. And there's probably, we don't know exactly if there are different levels of, kindness in every single animal.
Oh, man, what a segue. What a segue. All right, I'm going to hold on to that point. Keep going, Lisa. Sorry.
I'm just saying that, we're assuming because we can't talk to these animals that all the animals are perfect. But they talk to each other in their own way with their instincts, and it's all instinct, right, with animals. So, and there's the hierarchy of that they have to eat each other to stay alive and everything. So maybe, you know how in kosher, you're not supposed to bathe a goat or something in its own milk. Isn't that where it comes from? Something like that.
Don't boil a calf in its mother's milk.
Right. Sorry. So, there's obviously something also in the animal kingdom where there's going to be cruelty and kindness too. We don't speak that language. So I'm just saying it's an assumption that the animals are all perfect.
Beautiful. Thank you. Donna, go.
I think I just maybe should listen. There's so much to learn. What do I know? I think that there's a remnant, always a remnant that is saved. In every genre, every act of God's creation, human and animal, and all through the Torah, there's always a remnant that God saves to start over and cleanse and redo and renew. And that's my opinion.
I like that. Okay, thank you. All right, now I want to go back to what Lisa said in passing. Is there a hierarchy of kindness? Is there a hierarchy of kindness? Which I found fascinating, because that's what I get stuck on that point every year. I get stuck on that point every year, right from the opening line of the Parshat, right? Here we go. It says, this is the line of Noah. Noah was a righteous man. He was blameless in his age. He was age, not meaning like age of his birth, but in his time, bedorotav, in his generation, that he was righteous in his generation. Noach ish tzadik tamim haya bedorotav, that he was a righteous, pure person in his time. Why does it have to say that? Is there really such a thing as a hierarchy of righteousness? Is it, I know I need at least one human being to keep going with everybody. I'm going to look for the least of all evils. Is it different between saying I'm the least of all evils versus being, you know what, you righteous human being. You're a righteous human being. Okay, let's see what we got here. Merle. I'm going to go Merle. Then I'm going to go Lisa.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't have my hand up again. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
So
I'm going to go Merle. And then I'm going to go Brad. I saw Brad had his hand up too. Go, Merle.
I'm thinking about people in today's real world who feel that they deserve more attention than others, and that they're better than others for whatever strange, stupid reason. And that would be the hierarchy of kindness, because they think their kindness is, or more, they think they should be more attentive than someone else. I'm just thinking of it because of a situation that happened this week where a dear friend's son died, and she only told me, and she didn't tell her other friends. We've been friends longer, and in this case, some felt that they should have been told before the rest of us were told. I mean, it's like they feel like they should have been told first of a situation.
Okay, so what you're saying is that because of the way that we may think of ourselves, we'll compare ourselves to others in terms of righteousness or goodness or kindness or worthiness.
Any one of those
whatever
words.
word here, that it's all a comparison, that there's
Right.
no just like absolute everything.
Right.
Jeff. Hi, doctor. Good to see you. So there is no absolute when it comes to righteousness or kindness. Is it always compared to those around you in your generation? So let me ask you this.
That's what I'm thinking.
All right,
Because
go, Brad.
I sit there and I see human
Sorry,
nature.
Merle. Sorry, finish your thought. My bad.
No, I'm just thinking that's what I see in human nature with people who think that they should get more attention, or they're more righteous or whatever than the guy next to them.
Okay, Brad. Brad, then Jeff.
Well, it just seems to me to be a very backhanded type of compliment of Noah that he was the best of the worst.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he's not, he doesn't rank up there with an Abraham or with a Moses. I mean, there are levels of righteousness. And for his age, for the age in which he lived, he was
But what did he have to compare
the
it
better
to?
one. But in the big picture, compared to our the heroes,
But how does he know
Abraham and
that?
Moses,
Yeah.
he's not up there.
Okay, this is going to be interesting. We're going to go check this out. All right, I've got a bunch of hands. Who did I say was after Brad? Did I say? Because I know Phyllis and Warren, did you raise your hand? We've got Lorraine's raising a hand. Oh, Jeff, it was Jeff. Jeff, go Jeff. So we'll go Jeff, Phyllis and Warren, and then Lorraine.
You've got mail.
I got mail.
You're dealing with a term that is situational. You're not dealing with an abject definition of something that's fixed.
See, that's the question, right?
And the variations that can occur by degree.
All right.
Action is open to interpretation both by yourself and by the viewer.
I think, and that's key right there, that it's not just about you, but it's also about others. But it's not just about others, it's also about you.
And
okay.
Yes.
The situation also relates to its time and the interpretation of what is ethical at that time. They grew up in an age where, violence, crime, murder, death, infidelity, all of that was accepted in his time. But what made him stand out is that he was the odd man out. I don't know whether he was really that good, but he was that different in his choices.
Interesting. I like this use of words here. Not that he was that good, but he was that different. Thank you, Jeff. Okay, Phyllis.
Well, what I was going to say has been said, but
say it anyway.
But well, the thing I'm struck with is that other people are not talked about at all.
Mm-hmm.
There's no, like Noah didn't plead for other people. There's no picture of him communicating with other people. And I find that to be interesting.
I totally find that to be interesting. I found that to be so interesting that I went to search. It's like, where's this guy's voice? And his voice, and we'll get to it later, only comes at the end of the story. And I think to myself, after reading what he said, I was like, maybe that guy should have stayed quiet. He should have just stayed quiet. He should stay quiet. Who do we got? We got Lorraine. We had Lorraine.
Rabbi, you just were alluding to what I was going to mention right now. That the only time in which, he is said to be the righteous, and I agree with the ones who have spoken before that this is a very relative term, because when he speaks to curse. So
yeah,
I don't know. And I also think that what Phyllis is bringing up is very interesting. We don't know about the other people, but what we do know is that Noah was cursing his own, relative. So I don't know. It seems to me that it's very relative to the point in time in which they are at this point, at this juncture.
Beautiful. Thank you, Lorraine. All right, I saw Pnina, Jeff, and then we're going to keep going. You're muted, Pnina. Safta, you're muted.
Sorry. The story of Noach, actually, according to my teacher a long time ago, was built by other people before us, and there was a story about a flood, and supposedly we borrowed that hero or that personality from another story. So I was wondering how many of those stories in the Bible were borrowed or built upon other stories. So it's like, but you're looking at a proverb here, like a mashal, that let's see what was really happening here and what was the result. So I think to judge who he was exactly and how it was, you have to look ahead of the story and see how.
Because we have that ability, right? Okay, I
exactly.
like it.
So let's look ahead and let's see what really happened there. Okay, because there is movies that were made about it, that people came and laughed at him when he built the ark, and there is children's story books and all this stuff. So when it says bedorotav, it means at his time. This is it. That was the scale. That's
was
the
the
way
scale.
that the scale went according to his action. So let's continue the story and see what he really did.
Okay, well, this is interesting that it's not fair to judge him against other generations because things change and things evolve. So it needs to be said, bedorotav, in order to make the point that it is not fair to judge him as compared to Abraham, to Moses, because he didn't know of their existence. He didn't know what was to come. No, it's the same with all of us, knowing how things are going to change, how things were, how things evolve, what's going to be in the future, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, what's ethically moral, what's not, all of those kind of things. Fabulous. That's really good. That's really good. All right, here we go. Get ready. We're going to jump up. This I also found fascinating. I never even really thought about this next point. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, on the 17th day of the month on that day, here it is. All the fountains of the great deep burst apart, and the floodgates of the sky broke open. All the fountains of the great deep burst apart, and the floodgates of the sky broke open. What image does this paint?
And he's 600 years old.
Yeah, he's 600. That's why I was like, well, 120, 600. What does that mean?
Okay.
We already know that time is cuckoo with the Parshat last week.
Okay.
But what picture is this painting? All the fountains of the great deep burst apart, and the floodgates of the sky broke open. It painted, at least for me, an image that I did not consider ever really when I'm looking at this story.
It's raining from below and it's raining from above.
Yeah, it's like the water coming from inside and outside. It's like that. It's like everything, all the water from underneath cisterns, whatever, explodes up, right? The waters come up this way, and it's the rain. It's not just flood. It's not just rain. It rained for all these. No, it wasn't just rain. It was everything. Just like,
how about a volcano?
I mean, a water volcano, I guess. I don't know. Merle, go. And then Lisa, I saw your hand.
I'm thinking that the fountains are just all the water around us, and it was raining at the same time. I mean, it's like a monsoon here. The ground can't handle all the water, so everything floods, and it's still raining, and it makes it just that much worse.
Makes it that much worse. Lisa, you're muted.
You're muted. Sorry. Don't kill me. Sorry.
God forbid. God forbid.
To me, it's the ocean. It's from the fountains of the great deep is all the way at the bottom. There goes my ring. All the way at the bottom of the ocean. It's the ocean coming up.
Everything coming up and coming down, coming up and coming down. Where everything, look at this. All existence on earth was blotted out. Humans, cattle, creeping things, birds of the sky, they were blotted out from the earth. Only Noah was left and those with him in the ark. And when the waters had swelled on the earth 150 days. Check this out. I found this fascinating. God remembered Noah and the beasts and all the cattle that were with him in the ark, and God caused a wind to blow across the earth and the water subsides. Well, God remembered Noah. What's that about? God remembered Noah. In order to remember something, there's an assumption there. There's an assumption there in order to remember. What's going on here? Jeff, what's going on? Was that a hand? I'm going to go Jeff. I'm going to go Merle. I'm going to go Penina. And then I'm going to go Lisa.
Jeff, Merle, Penina, Lisa. Number one, obviously, for him to have been chosen, he must have displayed this intrinsic righteousness and ethicality that God represents as his standard.
I thought you said that didn't exist. What? Didn't you just say like 5 minutes ago that it's all relative?
Well, relative to his time. Let's put it in those terms then. But the idea is, if God has a standard and we assume that he is the ultimate
Jeff, you know what
standard,
happens when you assume? You know what happens
that
when
may be, but that's the basis of our belief, is it not? That he represents the ultimate standard that we should be striving for in righteousness and action against each other.
That's a moving target.
No, there are certain bedrock ethical issues that we all share, or beliefs, murder, etc. But the idea of it's hard to assume that only one individual is capable of being a Noah amongst the vast multitudes that probably existed then as they do now.
Right. Like laziness. Okay, that guy's good enough. Let's go with him.
That may be. He could have been a rabbi for all we know.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. I don't even remember my order. What did I say was my order? Jeff, because also you know what? I'm gonna change the order. It's a moving target because we got Benny G's first hand raise of the afternoon, so we're gonna go to him.
Oh, thank you, Rabbi. I finished my lunch. I was just thinking a little bit off base. When it says remembered, doesn't necessarily mean he forgot Noah, because when if you die, you can remember people in your will. It's not that you forgot them, but you do something special for them. And just a shorthand term is I remembered them.
Could do something special for them. So if I remember, okay.
You don't really have to forget them, but they're back.
Because it kind of it seems to me like God's over here eating his sandwich, his salad over here, like Benny G and Brad's eating his sandwich. God's doing the same thing. Oh, and then, excuse me. Oh, yeah. All right, I forgot about you guys over here. I know I didn't mean for it to go for 150 days. My bad. Let me come on over here and help you out. Okay.
And one other thing, Rabbi, if I may, there are many stories of flood across multiple cultures.
Correct. 100%. That's like getting to Penina's point.
Interesting.
Yeah, this idea of cleansing and a beautiful. All right, I'm gonna go Lorraine, Penina. We'll go Lorraine and Penina.
Thank you. I just wanted to actually just point out to a couple of this segment almost repeats itself with another parts of the Torah. Like when we are talking about, when you just mentioned about the floodgates from up and down during the creation, we also saw that on the second day, how
beautiful.
The waters were split between the heaven and the earth. So and to me, that's beautiful. Although we're talking about a tragedy, it's beautiful imagery and poetry. Just to highlight that. And then when God remember Noah, it almost resonates when the Israelites were crying and God remembered them in Egypt, and it appeals to me in the same way that God is again coming back to intercede. in this instance, it almost seems like God remembered after being furious. Like he was so upset that he forgot that Noah was in the middle of all of that going on. But I just wanted to point those two things.
I appreciate that. Here's the thing. Here's my challenge with that, Lorraine. And this is one of those challenges I have with those who says that God heard the cries and everything like that. God remembered there and all that. Yeah, but you remember what we said? How'd they get there in the first place? Where did she go? Oh, there you are, down here. You moved it. How'd they get there in the first place? God set up the whole thing so they're going to be like, so I can then swoop in and become the big hero. Right? I mean, yeah. But this, all right. I always forget my own order. I'm terrible. Lorraine, I said, then we go Lorraine, Penina, Lisa. Go ahead, Penina.
Okay. Would I build an ark and take 2 of each animals and make sure that they're saved with me in the ark? Would any of you go and pick up a pair of each animals that you can lay your hand on that were laying around, which was a lot, and fill up your ark for them to survive? Don't you think that this makes him a righteous man or a kind man or a good man? I wouldn't build a ark that big. I wouldn't be able to, even if I wanted to. But he did it.
Well, maybe if God called you, you would.
And he saved them. Okay.
This is interesting.
Yeah.
I thought, you know what, though, Penina? I bet you could do it. I put my money on you.
Thank you.
I put my money on you.
Yeah. And by the way, I saw a movie one time of the beginning, how the dogs became dogs. Actually, they started to be wolves that people were good to them. So, and then, from that race of the wolf, we have the dogs of today that we domesticated. So what he did was a big thing, because we know that animals also, not only that they give us food, but they also can be very helpful to people. Like the dogs that you take with the soldiers to look for bombs and stuff. So the animals were just as important. So
that's what this girl wrote her bat mitzvah Torah portion, her Devar Torah about, this idea of like animals that they bring into hospitals to help with patients.
Exactly.
Animals that for the blind, animals to make people, all those kind of things.
So
beautiful.
He did it, and he wasn't choosy. He took a pair of each. That's a big thing.
He wasn't choosy.
Okay.
Go, Lisa.
Hi. Well, I wanted to sort of piggyback on the idea of, God being furious and then coming in and fixing it all.
Mm-hmm.
And call me crazy, but that's all over the Bible and all over Judaism. And I think, if we're supposed to be modeled in God's image, I think we're all the same. I mean, yes, he comes and he does nice things, but after exploding, it's like your parents having a huge fight in the living room. They're screaming and yelling, and then they make up. And then, 6 months later, they have another fight, or somebody's an asshole at your job, and then they're nice in the next day. I think, I don't see God as some angel up there of perfection. He sets it up, with problems, then he's pissed, then he comes in and makes it good, then something else happens and he's pissed. And you could extrapolate that to the Holocaust. When people talk about that, where was he? Where was he? I know the Orthodox have their vibe on it, but I'm not Orthodox, and I don't believe that it was all our fault. So it was interesting to me, because that's how I've always viewed God in our tradition. He gets pissed, and then he's nice again. And then he does something, and then he's pissed, and then he's nice again. And yes, we have responsibility for our actions, but to me, he set up the human condition in himself. We all do this over and over and over again. How many fights have you had with the people you love the most?
None, never, none.
And that's what it is to me. That's the Old Testament God.
Yeah.
He's angry and then he's nice.
But you knew where he stood in every situation.
I don't know.
You
He's
knew
hanging
where
out
he
over here. He's
stood.
hanging out. I don't know. Brad, Merle. We'll go Brad and then Merle. And my squares.
I'm sort of beating a dead horse here, but to me, it's all of a sudden God remembering is another sign of God's fallibility.
Okay.
And
you're not beating. That's your sermon, Brad.
And
that's
my sermon. And it's interesting because I was just listening to a podcast where the subject of God's fallibility was the topic, and the speaker's perspective was that it's much more difficult for Jews to accept a fallible God than for Christians, because for Christians, God became human, God and died on the cross. So because of that, the human element entering into the God concept, it's much easier for Christians to accept a fallible God, whereas Jews were always coming up with some excuse for why God does this or that.
Interesting.
And in fact, we're just told, if you just read the text, we're told again and again of the fallibility of God, but we have such a difficult time accepting it.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you, Merle.
So I'm thinking God creates us, gives us human nature or free will, whatever you want to call it. And God's pissed off at the choices we've made using our free will. And this is how God gets back at everyone for what God would say is the inappropriate use of free will. In a lot of cases, it is.
Well, so then what happens at the end is God promises, all right, I won't do it again. You guys will figure it out yourself.
Right. But God gives us the ability to make choices. And if we make the wrong choices, this happened to have been the punishment at that time. Punishment might be different today.
All right. Yes, correct. All right, Trina, you got a word, and then I want to go to the next thought because this goes to what Lorraine and I were discussing
Can you
earlier.
hear me? Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
The book of the Bible in Hebrew is called Torah. Torah comes from the root of the word haro, lehorot, to teach. And everything that you learn or read in this book, in the whole Torah, is a lesson. It's supposed to be a lesson. That's why the whole thing was put together. So we're looking for psychology. Maybe the way of showing a cause and effect is the way to teach people. That's what we're supposed to take from it. To really see reality in all the stories, or to see something that you could put in words and humanize it. You're supposed to look for the lesson. What is it really teaching you here? And that's the whole purpose of the Torah. So here you learn that he was kind, and because he was kind, he was rewarded. And there is a way to do bad, and there is a way that people do good, and these things are being rewarded one way or another. Maybe sometimes it's not a just reward, but there is a cause and effect.
Okay.
And it's a lesson.
All right, check this out. We're going to move on to this next point. Was he really so kind? Here we go. We haven't heard word one from this guy yet. Not a word. He's gone through this entire thing, this crazy episode. Not a word until the end. So now they're on land. Everything's great. So here comes the dove with the leaf in it, and then they're in a place, and then the sons of Noah who came out of the ark were Shem and Ham and Japheth, Ham being the father of Canaan. All right, check this out. These three were the sons of Noah, and from these, the whole world branched out. Now, Noah, the tiller of the soil, was the first to plant a vineyard. How lovely. He drank of the wine and became drunk, and he uncovered himself within his tent. He's hanging out there. He fell asleep. No jammies, nothing. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw his father's nakedness and ran to tell his brothers, and he told his two brothers outside. But then Shem and Japheth took a cloth, placed it against both their backs, and walked backward. They covered their father's nakedness. Their faces were turned the other way so that they did not see their father's nakedness. When Noah woke up from his wine, not just from sleeping, but from his wine, right? Noah woke up from his wine and learned what his youngest son had done to him. He said, first words that we read from Noah, "Cursed be Canaan, the lowest of slaves shall he be to his brothers." And he said, "Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem. Let Canaan be a slave to them. May God enlarge Japheth and let him dwell in the tent of Shem, and let Canaan be a slave to them." Noah lived after the flood 350 years, and all that days of Noah came to 950 years, and then he died. But what did his son do that was so bad that the first word uttered in the Torah is, "I am cursing you"? What did he do that was so bad? He walks in the tent, he sees that his dad's naked, walks out, tells his brothers, and then his brothers go in and cover him. And Noah wakes up and he's like, "What?" I don't know. I know that there's all sorts of midrashim, what his son supposedly did, what his son supposedly did not. I don't buy it. I'm still stuck on this B'dorotav in his generation thing. I don't know. I don't buy it. Who's raising hands here? Brad, I saw a hand. Go.
I mean, I thought it was my understanding that nakedness is sort of a euphemism here for some type of sexual immorality that went on. Is that?
But
not?
he walked in and let's see. Let me see. He got drunk and he uncovered himself with this in his tent. Him and his father came and saw his father's nakedness, and so he walked in. His father was naked. Or his father was doing whatever he was doing. Ham didn't do anything. He just walked in on him. Whoops. Oy, 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 oy.
I got my hand raised, Rabbi.
Okay, let's go. We're going to go. Oh, sorry, Brad. Finish your point.
No, that was my point.
Okay.
Nakedness was a euphemism.
Was a euphemism, but still it's like Ham didn't do anything. What did Ham do? He wasn't anything about his nakedness. He walked in, it was like, my eyes, I don't want to see that. Right? Donna, go ahead. And then
I think because he told his brothers instead of, I really don't think he did anything wrong, but what he neglected to do was he didn't back up and cover his father up. Instead, he went and told his brothers about it first, instead of first response would be, "Oh, let me cover my dad up so he won't be embarrassed," and or anything like that.
Oh, so maybe you think he's coming out to tell his brothers and be like, "You're not gonna believe what I just saw." Like he was gossiping.
Yeah, he did not.
Rather than, "Oh my God, fellas, you're not gonna believe what I just said. I need your help." I see. Okay.
Respect your father. Respect your parents.
Okay, so
honor your parents.
There was no respect. Oh, okay. All right, Donna. All right. I'm following you. Marvin's iPad. Go ahead. Marvin's iPad. You may unmute. But you're muted still.
What I see here is one more example of brothers fighting with one another. And then, of course,
how do you see? What do you see the fighting?
Them fighting with one another because one of them says, "Let him dwell in the tents of Shem." I think Shem means Semites, and let Canaan be a slave to them. Meaning Canaan is a slave to Shem, And that to me is how I see them fighting with one another.
But that was the curse that the father put on them. It's like the father's trying to
That's
cause
right.
trouble.
So this
The
is the
father's causing the
father,
trouble.
but this is what is the whole point from Cain and Abel. From the very, very beginning, we know that humans are terrible to one another, and brothers very often hate one another. And that is one of the lessons, as Tina keeps telling us, that is another lesson.
But
Bit obtuse.
I don't buy it.
I don't know. That's the way I read it. It may be all wrong.
No, I don't know. How do you read? But I don't know how you. Let's see. Okay, Noah, the supposed righteous man, he's getting drunk, hanging out in his own nakedness. The son walks in, goes out, tells his brothers. So the brothers are like, all right, let's go in and we're going to do something about it and help him out. He wakes up and he's like, whoa, what just happened? What just happened? And he comes out and he starts yelling at everybody and he starts cursing his youngest son. Well, what happened? I don't know. I don't know. Merle, help me out here. Help me
I feel
out.
like this is an
It says
example.
here, let him dwell in the tents of Shem,
Yeah,
which I
that's the
believe means
curse.
Semites, and then let Canaan be slave to the
Yeah,
Semites.
that's the curse that the father puts on the son for reasons I still don't
Okay, so
understand.
there we go. That's the curse of two brothers fighting.
That the father
That's the
put
way I
on them.
see it.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
see
the
that.
father.
I'm with you. Natalie, I'm with you.
Okay, that's
I
all
don't know
right. You
what-
could not be with me if you
No,
don't
I'm
want to
with you. I'm
also.
totally with you. I just don't understand why Noah did that in the first place. I'm with you.
Well, no, yeah, so he's not so great either, like we think. And that's what Brad was talking about from the beginning. I always agree with Brad, always, with what he has to say.
Oh my
This is
goodness.
really-
Okay. We've got a couple minutes left. So I'm gonna go Lisa, and then I'm giving the final word to Lorraine.
I have to go to another.
Hi. Well, it just brings me back to a similar point when you're asking, why is Noah doing this? You know, I feel like it's like Noah is just like God and God is just like Noah. You know, he's first of all, he's blowing off steam. He's been stressed out. He's drinking. So he's drinking. And, you know, and they said he's the first one to plant the vineyard. So he's discovering this whole wonderful concept of what alcohol does to you. But that's a side point. I just think it comes back to the same question of, you know, in my view, God does stuff. A lot of it is fucked up, excuse my language, and we don't know why. We don't know why. And it feels like sometimes it's just a human being reacting badly.
Hello.
You know? Noah's reacting badly. Maybe it's the wine, maybe he's exhausted, maybe he doesn't like one of the sons. But it feels to me like when you feel like something arbitrary happens, you do your best, you're doing your best, and something gets screwed up. And you're like, but why? And I'm starting to feel like it's much more about an irrational emotional reaction, whether from God or us that he created. I don't think there's a definitive answer. It feels like a parent when they're doing bad parenting.
It's like that. It's like that.
They're having a bad day.
Yeah, it's like that Carly Simon song that says, "Why'd you tell me this? Were you looking for my reaction?"
All right, Lorraine, bring us home.
I just wanted to say that to expand on what Lisa was speaking, I don't see it as so much as in that way as to that God is meant to be representative of justice and also merciful, but the justice piece is the one that could be interpreted as being harsh, being angry, being strong.
I like
and then
it.
The mercy comes in and is the piece that is compassionate, all encompassing of love and kindness. And I think that those two pieces just interact with one another. Our interpretation may be different. To that extent, if God is meant to be justice and fair, I don't see Noah being just at all here, because he's cursing Canaan, which is his grandchild, right? He's the son of his son. Doesn't have anything to do with what happened here, but yet he was the recipient of this curse. And so I don't know. I just wanted to point that out, that to bring it back home to what we were talking about, Noah being kind, and that not reflecting on his kindness.
Beautiful. Thank you. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm gonna go. Sorry, Pnina, because Kimberly raised her hand. That was the first time in an hour. Okay. So I'm giving her the floor.
Okay.
I started asking friends about 3 weeks ago why the grandson was selected to be punished. I called my Bible reading friends, my Torah reading friends, and I've never gotten a satisfactory answer.
Yeah. It's bananas. I know. Pnina, you're going to hate me, but we got to go. I got to go. You're waving goodbye.
It's about vulnerability. They took advantage of his father being vulnerable. That's what it was. And instead of protecting him, he made it funny. He made fun of him.
I don't know. I think that's like what we were talking about. Brad was saying that we have a hard time with the fallibility. He was like, I don't know. I gotta go hang out with some second graders. I'm gonna go talk to them now about Noah. Should I bring up all of the stuff that we talked about with my second graders right now?
Sure.
Sure. I don't know.
Except for the part where he was uncovered.
They may have a different input than we did.
And they absolutely will.
Yeah.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Pnina, how is everybody?
Thank God. Baruch Hashem.
Good.
Oh, I'm mute. 1 minute.
Hey, Pnina. Hey, Jeff. How is everybody? I'm glad you're looking better, Jeff.